Hey guys, it's Rachel in the Dolly Cam. We are here in the basement of the Denver Museum of Miniatures, Dolls, and Toys, and we are about to have a wonderful seminar with Pat Vick, who has been a volunteer here at the museum for over 30 years. So we're going to go ahead and take it away and hope you learn something fun to utilize at home and to do with your dollhouse. So Pat, how are you this morning?
I am fine, thank you.
Thank you for having us here. This is very exciting. We talked about this earlier. You guys have been doing these little series here at the museum for a while where people can make things and learn how to do it, and it's been really great. So tell us what we're going to be making today.
Today we're doing a landscape project. We're starting with a base that's made of ceiling tile, and if you try to do this at home, you be sure your ceiling tile is new. Don't grab it from the attic or the garage. It may have asbestos in it and you want to be safe.
That is a really good tip. So Pat, tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive into this wonderful project.
Well, I've been a miniaturist for 35, 40 years and started with my dollhouse when I was 4 years old, but been serious about teaching, about sharing, about doing.
Love it. We love, love, love doers. So we're going to make this miniature landscape. Now, where would somebody utilize this miniature landscape if they made it?
They could use it as an individual scene by adding animals or creating something special on it, or they could use the techniques if they were doing their whole yard in their dollhouse.
Love it. So these techniques that we're going to learn could potentially teach somebody how to landscape the entire yard of their dollhouse, or just make a little vignette just like this.
Absolutely.
So we're starting with a piece of this board, which
ceiling tile.
Ceiling tile.
And my first application here is using spackle. It's common building supply spackle. I've added some brown paint to it to give it some color so it looks like dirt rather than paint it afterwards. That's making work out of a job. I'd rather do things that, there. If you want to build up around the edges, you can take something like styrofoam, and I use just a common nail for making a hole. And then you can grab a toothpick with some glue, put it through the styrofoam into the hole, break it off, push it down a little more with your finger or the closest tool, whatever the tool is. I keep a lot of what I call finger towels around. They're just pieces of paper towel. The idea is use it once or less often, but throw it away because you're going to carry glue to the next messy thing that you do. But you can put a few interesting shapes, again, poking a hole, putting a little bit of glue through your styrofoam into there, push it down with anything that you got handy, and break it off. Now, it's not going to dry instantly, but then we're not going to mess with it for a while, so that's the whole idea.
It just fell off. So that happens because it's just stuck to your finger. So it's, what kind of glue is that?
This one happens to be tacky.
Okay.
Some landscaping is very easily done with school glue. And that's what they label it. It's dirt cheap. I mean, I found some at 39 cents in King Soopers the other day. But if you're doing some other serious miniatures, you're probably going to stick to tacky.
Okay.
So we've got stuff here.
So this is just the base. Now, are these going to be shrubs or are these rocks?
These are going to be part of the, I live on the side of a hill, so it could be part of your property.
Okay.
We'll add some rocks later. But basically the full ground area, you're just spreading with the colored spackle. And you're going to use some of the softer part of this over this because you would never want to get paint or some glues even, not the tacky, but some of the other kind of glues that people use on things on styrofoam because styrofoam shrinks if it's exposed to some of the volatile glues. But you see, you just created a lump or three on the top.
So you want to create lumps?
Yeah, well, that's just to give it some interest.
Gives it some depth, yeah.
Gives it something interesting. It's not just a flat
plane.
Yeah. with my property at least, is not just a flat plane.
Exactly. So use your imagination and just, you can add a lot more than
Oh,
that.
absolutely. You
can
can build them higher, lower, whatever. And if you want to build a path or to create a stream through this, you could make sure that you have one real smooth and defined place, because you can do this as smoothly or as roughly as you want. There isn't really a wrong way to do it, which is one of the fun parts. There are some things we get very precise about in miniatures, but the world is not perfect. Our properties aren't perfect, therefore. But if I was going to build a path across one side, I might just make one smooth place where that path, or it might be a stream, because I could sprinkle crystals through there. I don't happen to have any at the moment, but you could sprinkle crystals through there, or you could change the color of it to make a path. You might put lighter sprinkles through the path part. And this is just, it's called railroad ballast.
Railroad ballast. Okay.
You get it from the railroad supply places in bags, but a lot of us, for instance, at the show, will sell smaller quantities, so you're not buying a $6 bag because you're doing, one little
Just
project.
a little bit. That's pretty neat. So that just defined your little path right there.
Right.
Now, is it important to get all of these things on here while that patch and prime is still
Pretty
wet?
much so, but if it dries out, then you just spread more glue to put it in.
Okay.
So you're not lost just because you didn't get it there fast enough. Okay, and this glue dries clear. So you can grab a rock.
So let's just let everyone know what you're doing here. So you just glued some rocks down on there next to the little mountains that you made. And that glue will dry clear.
That will dry clear. But at the same time, I'm probably also going to add give the dirt some other feeling. If this were a formal garden, yes, I might put lots of little rocks or something around. But for the general outdoors, this pretty much does it. But I've also got green somewhere. Time out while I find green.
So if you guys are just tuning in, we are here at the Denver Museum of Miniatures, Dolls, and Toys, and we are here with Pat, and she is giving us a tutorial on how to landscape the outside of your dollhouse. Or how to make a landscape miniature.
Yes, I mean, if this project really has no scale, but if I was working like 1/4 inch equals 1 foot scale, this might be built, enough to put a small house on it. And what I thought was blue is definitely not blue, so we're going to try some green over here. Well, everything that looks blue, green is blue. Time out.
It's
sorry.
a little bit turquoisey
We've got
yellow.
flowers in there. I'd like to find that out before my students come.
So we are here, and it's very nice that we're having a little private lesson because the students are coming here at 1 o'clock, and we have been given access to have a little private lesson for you guys.
I gotta go to the other room. That's okay.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm sorry. Look green from the outside.
So I'll just show you guys some of the tools that they are using here for this project. There's a little bowl of the rocks. And here are some examples of the green moss that they use. Pat, where can one buy some of this green moss and the rocks?
A lot of this just comes from craft supplies.
Okay.
Another good size supply for rocks is the pet stores, the stuff that they put with various animals, either in fish tanks or things that they
Oh, that's a good idea.
hamster cages and so forth.
Now, could one use rocks from their backyard?
Okay, one caution. If you're using rocks or sand from your yard, the beach, or whatever, take an aluminum pie pan, fill it with whatever that you've gathered from outside, cover it with aluminum foil, and bake it for about an hour.
Okay.
Because you never know what kind of microorganisms are living there and are going to grow up in your project.
Ooh, good call. Okay,
Creepy,
thank you for
creepy,
that.
creepy.
It sounds like you might be speaking a little bit from experience
Oh
there.
yes, oh yes.
So this is the green. Now, is this to simulate grass?
Yeah, this is to simulate grass. Whether it's a meadow or whatever, And since we're not trying to be precise, and when it dries, I'll shake it off, and then if I need to add glue, I will. Now, we had some of that yellow mix that I had in there before. Okay, see, some of it stuck and some of it didn't. In which case, I want more green where I don't have green.
Just add the glue. Okay.
And some of it, you know, it's dirt is going to show through, and that's fine. And I can just pick up from the scrap that I took off. That's why I work on wax paper, aside from trying to keep the table clean. And you can even put where some of that glue was around that rock. We don't waste anything here.
Oh, no. It is great not to waste, and you can really just kind of use that and scoop it off and put it all back onto your little landscape right
Some
there.
of my favorite combinations is I take margarine containers and fill them with scrap like this. You've got enough to landscape a meadow, a house,
Fun.
anything else in multiple colors, which is pretty much natural. Yeah, the one thing is you don't want to have your glue that you use, say, to put furniture together in the same container. I label my containers, if I have like margarine containers or something full of glue, landscape glue or not, just because you don't want to carry the bits and pieces of this stuff. You can see what's happens in the edge of my glue there. Okay,
Well,
so
it's looking pretty darn good over here.
but then if you can find things that look like trees or branches or whatever, I'm just going to take a small one. And back to the nail, when I put kits together for teaching, I frequently put the nail in it because that goes down in the hole. That's why you want to work on this side of the tile, not the white side, because it's easier to get in, and that other is more protected. Now you have kind of a tree. Maybe we can take a couple short pieces.
Now, are these things that you bought, or is this something that you found outside?
This is stuff that I have bought. But even if you bought it, you may find insects. I usually, when I buy dried flowers, tend to keep them away from my main supply for a month. Just because I have seen webworms or something gross
Right.
in the middle of it. Okay,
So
so
that
now,
is very cool.
now if I want something interesting on here, I can take bushes out of the kind of thing that you can buy in bulk, and I can plant a bush.
So there's a little short shrub.
That's sort of the entry of wherever this path goes.
It's wonderful to just see it kind of coming to life and coming together. Just in the few short things that you've done.
And sometimes they're more fun when you don't spend a lot of picky time on them. And I've just taken, and there's different, see, this is a different color green, so it's kind of more fun. And if it grows on your property in one place, it probably grows someplace else, even if it's a weed. Or it could be something lovely. This one I think likes to be near rocks. But this happens to be plastic. You can use naturals, so the plastics are going to last longer. Especially cacti and succulents. They look more realistic because most cacti, or most succulents at least, have shinier leaves. But I just sort of take and put wherever, knowing that they're going to grow up. And I don't like the way that one is falling over.
So there is no right or wrong way. You just kind of use your imagination and go for
And
it.
let it go. And you see what I ended up with by quite accidentally? See these little ridges? Mm-hmm. It looks like the roots of something.
It looks awesome.
And that was dumb
It
luck.
looks like you sculpted that.
Yes. And you
How
saw.
great. Yes, and we saw you do that. You were like a Tasmanian devil laying that patch and prime. I was going to say grout, but yeah, that is so neat. So once all that dries, then the white's going to go away and you're going to have a great little landscape. Even that accidental yellow that's peeking through looks like something.
Yes, and I put, you know, yellows and whatever colors in the meadow. I find in my own meadow, yellow and white and lavender are there, in Colorado at least, in the Colorado foothills, all year.
Right.
It's different plants at different times. Some of it you might wish weren't there, like thistle, and some of the dandelions and things, but they're there.
Right. Oh, it's so fun to think of the landscapes that are possible just for all the changing seasons, different climates, and places around the world. It's really a great way for children to learn about geography.
It would be, yes.
So Pat, we're going to see you coming up soon at the show. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I'm spending more time doing, well, I do have one make it, take it that I'm doing, pick a plant. And basically they start with containers that may be wheels or axles from wooden cars or something that actually looks like a flower pot. I've sprayed them terracotta so they look clay-like. And then just an egg carton full of different colors of things that they can put in them and make a 50-cent project real quick. Or they can take a kit that makes something much more elaborate, like a window box garden, but it's a window box in 12th scale, becomes an outdoor planter in quarter scale.
So fun. Wonderful. So here's your landscape. Now, Pat, do you have any more tips or tricks that we can leave our audience with when making and developing their landscape?
Don't make work out of your fun.
Okay, I like that. Just have fun, use your imagination, and don't get too caught up in perfection.
Right. And I just saw a place I didn't like the looks of. That's how I tell whether I've gotten it all. I just bend it off. Because the longer you spend on it, you will find some things you really want to do. But at the same time, don't get carried away.
Don't get carried away. Yeah, we tend to do that, don't we? Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Pat. This was a great tutorial, and we wish you luck in your seminar, which is happening in just a few minutes. Thank you for giving us a private lesson.
Okay.
Have a great day.